Welcome, Aries, to your in-depth weekly astrology overview and zodiac forecast for week commencing the 2nd of March for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. I'm going to share with you, first of all, the big themes of the week. On screen, you can see your event chart. That provides an influential backdrop for the whole 7 days. I'll unpack that. I'll then go through each of the influences frame by frame to give you a clear picture of what you can expect in terms of relationships, finance, energy, and career. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to the channel, please do so now and help it to continue to thrive. Your ruler Mars dives deep on Monday into a new home, the subterranean Pisces, where he will be for the following 6 weeks. What does that mean? On Tuesday, we have a potent total lunar eclipse in the practical Virgo, which will have a dynamic impact on us all collectively. But how will it impact on you? On Friday, Venus, the relator, but also the planet of attraction, moves into your zodiac sign, technically debilitated, but also met by the dreamy, idealistic Neptune and the reserved, cool Saturn as the week draws to a close. That's really significant. I'm going to go through all of those in greater detail shortly, but on the screen is your event chart. And one of the things I'd just like to say is towards the end of last week, you may have felt quite frustrated if certain parts of your situation weren't going as quickly as you would like. And the reason for that was Mars, your ruler, clashed in a tense right angle with Uranus. And that is in itself quite a triggering planetary aspect. But as we go into the new week and before Mars moves into Pisces, the moon in Leo joins in on this square. Now, the moon in Leo for you can be very affectionate, very warm, very generous. If you are thinking about doing something spontaneous, particularly a big gesture towards someone you're drawn to, just slow things down a little bit. I think that would help. But in an ongoing relationship of any kind, doesn't have to be a romantic one. If your values are not aligning with someone else's, that can be something that does cause some genuine tension. Now, later on Monday, as I mentioned, Mars will dive deep, but just let's look at the rest of the chart. Ironically, although Uranus is an aggravant to Mars and also the moon on Monday, he also forges a very strong link to Venus, the relator. You could find yourself thinking about someone you used to work with, particularly if you've come up with an imaginative idea and you feel that by collaborating together, you can make this innovative approach come to life. Then again, you could just have a brainwave this week, and it may be something that really is enlightened. But just know with Saturn and Neptune in your zodiac sign, along with Chiron, your energy is finite. So, despite the fact that Venus will join you later in the week, there's only so much you have. And this collective in the sign of Pisces that will be joined by Mars later on Monday is asking you just to stay in touch with the more reflective part of your situation. And if you're in the mood to just step back a little bit, give yourself permission to just process some of the energies that have been so potent of late, then that's fine. Mercury, however, is in a retrograde still in this area, and Mercury is detrimented in Pisces. So clarity around expressing yourself is important. You might find that you're reworking some past events with the energies of this week, but particularly once Mars arrives. So that Mars transit for 6 weeks from later on Monday. If we think about the overall zodiac, Pisces represents the 12th sign, the 12th house, and obviously for you. And Mars in the 12th house has quite the tendency to stir up things we're not completely conscious of, but especially anger. But that anger can be much more psychological. So it may be things that happened to us in the past, a breakup, a loss, maybe an accident. We may have worked hard at it at that time, but somehow or another, deep within us, something may still be lingering. And Mars does have a tendency to bring up unresolved grief, but unresolved anger, but at times unresolved tears too. So you may find that your mood is a little bit variable. Perhaps it will ease somewhat from the 20th of March when the sun returns to your sign, but just be conscious that that can be a factor. Now, on Tuesday, that total lunar eclipse, the only one of the year occurring in Virgo. Virgo for you is very practical, of course. The moon can be to do with our home. If there's areas of your everyday existence that could benefit from being a bit more organized and self-disciplined, the next 6 months give you a chance to work on that. But eclipses are when the sun and the moon are competing. And the psychological energies you have in Pisces are very different, completely contrasting the dry and cooler energies of the moon in Virgo. And if something is a little out of balance, it will show up over the next 6 months. So, for example, if you're feeling weary, it might not be because you're physically working so hard. It may be because you're soaking up energy around you from other people, and that's having an impact. Conversely, maybe there are some practical things you can do to improve your emotional and physical energy, such as improving your diet, getting more exercise. And the virtuous energy of the moon in Virgo encourages you to do that. But essentially, the best way to work with that eclipse is to try to integrate the energy of the sun and the moon in a kind of midpoint way. So that means accepting that you have vulnerabilities, but also you have an opportunity to affect your inner world by just taking a little more care with those everyday details. Now we have on Friday the arrival of Venus in your sign. That technical debilitation. I find when I do charts for people who have Venus natally in Aries, I like their energy because if they desire something, they tend to go for it. And a lot of the archetypes of astrology are based on very ancient male and female patterns. And of course, we've all evolved. And I think if there is something you really want to restart, it could be something very creative, for example. If you have a hobby that's been dormant for a while, that more aesthetic energy of Venus can give you the push in your own sign to engage with it, particularly that link to Neptune. But of course, Saturn is a different proposition. And if you aren't feeling completely comfortable about some part of your personal appearance, Saturn could lower your spirits. But what you can also do is change something. That may be treating yourself to some new clothes, having a new haircut, and freshening up your personal image. But equally, as far as a relationship is concerned, if you have gone through a separation or you have been uncertain about what to do about a relationship, you're going to reach a point where you know it's time to move forwards, whatever you decide to do. It's just the moving forwards might not be quite as dynamic as usual. It may stutter initially, but once Venus gets beyond the dynamic duo of Neptune and Saturn, you will start to pick up momentum. But overall, your week does require you to really embrace the more tender, even vulnerable side of your nature. And if you do, that can help to release a lot of positive energy. And Saturn and Neptune are asking you to use what energy you do have in an economical way. But denying any fears and any parts of your situation that you don't want to look at is not really going to be the way to work with this week's influences. If you would like to understand what that total lunar eclipse means, Aries, please click on the left-hand screen and you can watch your deep dive, or the right-hand screen, you can watch your March deep dive video for Aries. And if you would like to have a one-to-one with me, please check out my testimonials below. You can also take advantage of my unique offer of your personal forecast and life roadmap report, totally unique to you. And At the checkout, please apply Astro 26 and you'll get 50% off. If you'd like to understand more about the draconic version of those charts, very much to do with your soul karmic journey, please apply Draco 26 at the checkout.